Alright, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about the X-Men once more. The first original series. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. This one is Come the Apocalypse from season 1. And, of course, there's a lot of action involved in this episode. From the word go, almost. At the beginning, we have Angel. He's going under the treatment, the cure, he thinks, for getting rid of his mutant powers and becoming a normal human. But as they strap down to the table, Dr. Adler shows who he really is, and it is Mystique. They start the treatment on him, and Apocalypse turns up, and sadistic as he is, he wants to hear Angel screaming the birth of a new life in his estimation. So at the pub on Muir Island, Xavier and the X-Men, they're sitting there and they're having a conversation about the mutants that are all gathering for the cure. He's describing what they're going through. Some of them just hate themselves and they're letting their hatred turn inwards in themselves. They're just, none of them's happy. They don't know how to control their powers. They can't accept themselves. All that sort of stuff. So there's a bit of a confrontation between the X-Men and the rest of these mutants whenever Angel turns up claiming that he has been cured. And these mutants, they're excited to get going. And Cyclops, he steps in to put out the argument. We're mutants. We should be proud of who we are. It is what it is, sort of thing. But Professor X breaks up the whole thing, gets him to leave. But the mutants are celebrating that they don't have to be outcasts anymore. They're going to be normal people. And of course we know from prior episodes that Rogue was tempted by the offer but decided to embrace her mutant self. And for a moment there, as she's leaving, you can see that pang of jealousy for what these people are about to get, everything she ever hoped for. But of course it is not the case. So back at the mansion, they're playing games in the rec room. Gambit, he's having a bit of fun with Rogue. The winner gets a kiss from the loser, sort of a thing. And again, she's really getting into it with his attitude, because does he really want to end up in a coma? So they're having a back and forth, and Jean Grey actually steps in and makes a fool out of Gambit. It's a game of pool that they're playing, and he put Rogue off by this, the loser has to kiss the winner comment, making her miss the one-on shot. And then when he's going for it, Jean Grey uses her powers to knock the ball out. So the action kicks off here when there's a peace conference happening in Paris, France. It's attacked by Apocalypse and the four horsemen of the Apocalypse. Of course, you've got Angel, who's now Archangel. He has now been, he's been baptized with the name Death by Apocalypse. You've got Pestilence in there as well, along with War and Famine, 3 other mutants on through the procedure that have been transformed into his army, essentially. So the rest of the episode is basically these mutants under the control of Apocalypse going through different attacks over the different parts of the world and whatnot, and the X-Men finally coming to try to stop them. The X-Men are sent off for that. Professor X actually sends Rogue back to Muir Island to see what's going on. He recognises Death as the mutant that had claimed that he was cured, and having just referred back to that version of him was actually Mystique playing the role again. So she gets back there, discovers Mystique, and they have a little confrontation where Mystique gets the upper hand on her, leaves, and saying, you're never going to stop Apocalypse. But gives away where his location is at. He's at, gosh, why's the name left me? Stonehenge in England. So Rogue heads off to Stonehenge. The X-Men have a confrontation with the four horsemen of the apocalypse and eventually get the upper hand on them. They retreat back to Apocalypse at Stonehenge, apologising for not being worthy to be his followers since they've been beaten by the X-Men. Apocalypse has already had a run-in with Rogue at this point, and the rest of the X-Men turn up at the end of the episode, and another confrontation. The final confrontation of the episode starts with the X-Men against the Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen this time. Death is now gliding in the air at the end of the episode, and the one on move here comes from Rogue whenever she, of course, uses the mutant power she was so intent on getting rid of a couple of episodes earlier. When she takes off her gloves, flies up, grabs him by the head and removes his powers. So you know that when she takes the powers, she takes on the identity and the strengths of the person that she's touched briefly. She reverts him back from being evil to being the good person that he was, even though now he's stuck in this transformed state as Archangel slash Death. He turns on the horsemen and puts them under retreat once more, so off they go. And Apocalypse, also realising that his team taken out, he's now lost the upper hand, so he ducks into an elevator that takes him below the surface and then escapes in some sort of spacecraft. It looks like he's taken off for the stars at the end of the episode. So we have a little moment where Rogue and Angel slash Archangel slash Death, he's talking about, he wanted his cure and all he discovered was how evil he could be. And Rogue, tells him that, oh, it's okay now, I've taken the evil side away from you, it's now a part of me. And he's like, I hope you're strong enough to deal with it, because I wasn't. And off he goes. So I'm not sure how this is going to affect her in the long run. Essentially, it's usually for a certain amount of time. She'll take on the powers and the personality of the person she touches. But whether this is the darkness that's going to come back, I can't recall at this point. I don't think in the remainder of season 1 you get to see any of it, but maybe in the next 4 seasons. I kind of dropped off after season 1 and the original run of this back in the 90s, just because of where I was at in life and what I was doing. I didn't get a chance to actually get into the following seasons quite as deeply as I got into the first season in this show, but absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love this show. Right, that's going to do it. And if you enjoyed this little chat about the X-Men, hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up and everything if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Until the next episode, stay safe and I will talk to you all then.